choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. It's a Monday, fun day here on WYAB. We're streaming worldwide at WYAB.com as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB if you want to do the audio only. That is the way to do it. That keeps the whole radio station going 24 hours a day. If you want to stream the video and engage with the most engaged local audience there is online, go to the Save JXN Facebook, YouTube, X, or Rumble accounts, and you can watch in 4K video there. Got my lovely mug up on the screen right now with my big FAFO flag. I guess it's a flyer too. Flag in the background. I'm rocking my Ellis Autoplex t-shirt this morning. As you see a little logo there if you're watching on the video. Shout out to Casey and the crew out at Ellis Autoplex. Really excited about having them back on the show. After a year apart, not working there and whatnot, we put our petty little differences aside, mostly my petty little differences aside, and are doing business together again. And it's a really great example of people being adults and realizing that sometimes you work better together than you do apart. So I appreciate having Casey back on the. Appreciate Casey for giving my improprieties. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Me being an a-hole sometimes. How about that? Just the best way to put it right there. Sometimes I can be a bit of an a-hole. And I can be difficult to work with 12 hours a day, like most people. Let's just be honest, like most people. But anyway, shout out to Ellis Autoplex. Give them a shout today for all your automotive needs, especially if you're in the market for a truck. They're out there on Highway 471 in Brandon. I want to say Brandon so bad. It's technically Flowood. In Flowood, Mississippi. It's right at the end of Highway 471, right before you get to Highway 25. Or if you're getting off at Highway 25, if you're going east on 25, take a right. When you get off of 25 on the 471, second car lot on the right there. You can't miss it. The building sits up on a big hill. It says Ellis Autoplex. Y'all know how I feel about businesses that put their names on the business. I don't know. Ain't no knock to people that don't. I just think, especially in the car business, because that's such a tough business, and there's so much negativity, and it's so prone to bad comments and negative reviews, and it's such an emotional purchase that it's very prone to negative reviews and negative experiences. So when somebody does, especially used cars, so when somebody puts their name on the business, to me, that signifies that they're willing to go that extra mile to make sure things are right, because all we got in this world is our balls and our word, And I don't even know if I can say that. I've never said that out loud, the all of that, at least on the radio. So I hope I can say that. If not, it's all we got. And anyway, get out there, check them out. EllisAutoplex.com. They will buy your vehicle. If you're in a pinch, need to sell that vehicle here at the end of the year, you got an extra car, need to sell it, buy them Christmas gifts. Not what I would recommend doing. Sell your car, but not to buy Christmas gifts. If you got to sell things to buy things, you may want to reconsider the people you have in your life. Not your kids, but your significant others. If you feel like you got to sell something to satisfy your significant other, sell them. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Any more house cleaning here? Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. I went by Guns and Gear Friday, dropped off a big old stack of FAFO stickers. They do have them there now at Guns and Gear in Gluckstadt. So if you're out in the Madison County area, you've been wanting a FAFO sticker, there hasn't been anywhere out there to get one. There is now. Guns and Gear, Highway 51 at Yandell Road. They're closed on Mondays, but Tuesday through Saturday, swing by, see the team. If they get low, let me know, and I will get more over there. I feel like Madison County has kind of been the redheaded stepchild of the Clay Edwards Show, just because I live in downtown Brandon, and it's just so easy. I drive through Brandon and Pearl and Rankin County multiple times a day that I don't give our Madison County folks the same level of appreciation that I do our Rankin County, and that's just more logistically than anything. After the first of the year, we will be doing more of our FAFO lunches and whatnot in Madison County. We're going to rotate it. Madison, Brandon, and Jackson too, for that matter. Every month it'll be a different location for the most part. We got so many great sponsors all over the place that we've got to spread these things out a little bit. This Friday, however, we're going to keep it in Brandon for Friday and Monday. We got two big events coming up. So we got the Christmas party Monday. And look, guys, we got a lot we're going to get to, I promise, but I got to get this stuff out of the way. Monday, a week from today, is the third annual Christmas party. It's a nighttime. It's going to be a good time. We got a live band, the Stevens Brothers. We got big production coming in, courtesy of Brian Barlow and his dad. We've got we're teaming up with Shower Power to raise a bunch of winter supplies for the homeless folks: jackets, pants, coats, socks, gloves, all that good stuff. Tell you more about that throughout the show, but it dawned on me, we got a lot of audience members that maybe aren't night owls, people that don't want to come out to the bar. And look, I totally get it. I kept thinking I was going to grow up and grow beyond being one of those people that enjoys going out at night and hanging out at the bars, but I haven't quite reached that peak yet. But our good friends out at this Friday out at El Patrio in Crossgates, Brandon, are going to be hosting us for a FAFO Friday lunch. I'm figuring 11:30 to 1. It really started at noon, but start getting there about 11:30. If you guys will let me know if you want to come, I really would prefer a little bit of an RSVP. I mean, don't let that stop you. If you change your mind last minute, you can make it. Come on, we'll find a place for you. But I would like a little RSVP because we got a couple different seating options, and I don't want to take up too much space if we're not going to use it all. And I also don't want to not reserve enough space if we need it, because we could take over the whole bar area, which sits about 15, 20 people, or we could sit out on the patio, which seats about 30 people, or we could just get a big table in the middle of the restaurant for however many people we need. My preference is to take over the bar area, but I don't want to do a takeover and not need all the space or need more space. So anyway, if you're interested in coming and just hanging out, there ain't gonna be no speaker, there ain't gonna be nothing fancy. It's just us getting together, shooting the breeze, enjoying some good food, meeting some like-minded individuals, little networking event. You're a business owner, or you're just a fan of the show, a fan of WYAB, just somebody who wants to come have a common sense conversation with somebody, ain't got to worry about being canceled or some woke tard recording your conversations and, any of that stuff. It's just a great opportunity to get out in the wild and meet one another for a quick lunch. So that's going to be this Friday, El Patrio Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, right there on Highway 80, directly in front of Crossgates Subdivision. Very easy to find. I'm going to be talking about it every day this week. I'll also be talking about the Christmas party every day this week. So circle your calendars this Friday and this Monday. We're going to end the year with a bang with the Clay Edwards Show audience and anybody else that wants to come be a part of it. Really excited about it. Really, really excited about it. Decided yesterday to do the lunch. And good times. Good times. Farah asked, is the Christmas party kid-friendly? Yes. Christmas party is kid-friendly at Burgers Blues Barbecue. I just make the mental note that there will be adults there drinking adult beverages, but it's absolutely kid-friendly. Hopefully we're past the point that we have to worry about any wild shenanigans. But yes, it is kid-friendly. Bring your kids, bring your grandparents, all that good stuff. Southern Beverages hooked us up with some adult beverages. So anybody that brings a jacket, a pair of gloves, a coat, whatever, winter supplies, a pack of socks, hooking you up with a free beer, a free Bud Light or Michelob Ultra. Now, we've moved past the Bud Light drama. We've moved past that, so I don't want to hear any Bud Light jokes. So they've hooked us up. I think it's very cool of them to donate to our cause and to help raise some supplies for Shower Power. And for all the people that talk crap, like, you did something bad about Jackson. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you know what? Me and my listeners, we are going to try to get about 100 jackets, 100 pair of jeans, some combination. I would like 100 items is my goal. 100 items substantial items, jackets, jeans, gloves, packs of socks, not a pair of socks, packs of socks. Jeans can be used, jackets can be used, blankets can be used. If you're going to buy socks or underwear, please new. Don't bring used socks and underwear. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that. So I want to give back when we get the opportunity to give back, and I think Shower Power is a great representation of the things I like to be affiliated with and that I think you guys like to be affiliated with. And it also gives us a big middle finger to people who say we just sit back and talk crap and don't do nothing. You know, the best way to shut those people up, because they're usually the ones that actually don't do anything, but they're just so virtuistic that they think that just their words is enough, where we understand that it takes action. It takes having to get punched in the face every now and then. And gosh knows we've been punched in the face a lot the last 4 or 5 years, figuratively and literally. So we're going to give back. We're going to save Jackson. We're going to save Jackson one way or another. We've had to do it a little hands-off here the last few years because of the Free the Land Coalition having their tentacles so deeply rooted in everything. But now all that's getting ready to come to an end, just like the Joe Biden administration, and woke is beginning to die. Free the Land is beginning to die. And we're able to kind of safely get our hands back on Jackson and start fixing some of the things that they've destroyed. And sometimes it's as simple as just building a little foundation. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something big in Jackson. I've been talking about it all weekend. Strong chance of a casino resort being built in downtown Jackson. I want to talk about the positives, but we also going to hit the negatives. A lot of people ain't happy about this, and I'm a little surprised. I, for one, think this is going to take a revolutionary event such as a casino. No, it's not an event, a revolutionary development to revolutionize downtown Jackson, because I don't see anything else on the horizon that can remotely make the difference that a resort casino can do. I'm not talking about a Vicksburg riverboat here. I'm talking about a Beau Rivage style, Hard Rock style resort casino. Pools, live entertainment, concert venues, hotels, gambling. It's got to have it all. Restaurants. It's got to be all encompassing. It's going to take something like that to change downtown Jackson's fortunes. It's not, y'all don't want to hear this. It ain't going to be a big church. A big church ain't going to do it. A row of locally owned businesses ain't going to do it. Fair Street, a bar in every corner. It ain't going to do it. The casino could anchor all of that and pull it together. Let's talk about it on the other side of the break. Welcome to the Clay Edwards Show. If you're new here, if you're watching online, hit that share button. Wherever you're watching at, hit that like button. Send it to a friend. If you're listening on the radio, rip the knob off, turn it all the way up. This is just the beginning of the day. We're here till 9 o'clock. We got a whole bevy of phenomenal hosts here at WYAB, local and national. From 10 a.m. to 11, I'm sorry, from 9 to 10, you got Chip Matthews. From 10 to noon, you got Jameson Haygood. From noon to 2, you got Dana Lesh. From 2 to 4, you got Charlie Kirk, the one and only Charlie Kirk. And then 4 to 6, it's the main event. Radio Strongman, the next mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Mr. Kim Wade, the canary in a coal mine, the bull in the china shop, the one, the only, Kim Wade. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We're live here on WYAB as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB. As always, the podcast, the commercial-free podcast, is available by 10 a.m. Central Standard Time in audio format. Just search Clay Edwards Show wherever you download podcasts. or any audio platforms. It's even on Audible. So if you have Audible books, audio books, whatever you want to call it, the Amazon Audible account, it does push over there as well. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, we're everywhere. We're also right now streaming live in 4K video on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. Everybody listening on the radio gets to hear all the same stuff, but you guys streaming get a video element that others don't. Like right now, you're going to get to see something that the people in radio land will only get to hear. That is a video from WLBT about this potential casino resort coming to Jackson. But first, guys, are you suffering from low testosterone? Most people have all their New Year, New Me plans. Do you have one in place? If you're considering starting testosterone replacement therapy, be mindful that it could take 6 to 10 weeks for the full effects of testosterone to kick into your system. So why don't you go ahead now and get a head start on getting your system up to speed with testosterone, so your New Year, New Me work counts more than it would have. If you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances, you ain't quite able to hit those personal reps and maxes like you were. That morning wood ain't quite to the attention it once was. You very well could be suffering from low testosterone. I got a simple solution for you. Text my name, Clay, to 601-327-8550. 601-327-8550. Now that's for men only. Now women, we hadn't forgot about you. Men and women want to lose some weight. Maybe you don't need testosterone. Maybe you need both. They can handle it all under one roof. But how about Ozempic? I know the name brand stuff. It's really expensive. Most of us can't afford it. Have you considered generic Ozempic? It's called compounded semaglutide. Let them talk to you about it. They're at New Care. It's owned by the same people that have Men's Health in Mississippi. It's in the same building. Text weight loss, plain and simple. Weight loss to 601-327-8550 and see if that's something that works best for you. Consult with your physician there. Don't take my word on any of this stuff. Let them do your blood work and see what works best for you. Let's look at your weight loss goals and go from there. That's Men's Health and New Care. 601-327-8550 is the text number. Let me know if you have any problems. I have a direct line to them, and I'm not afraid to use it, as most of you know. All right. A casino in Jackson, Mississippi. This is something that became, I want to say back in March, this initially broke, and I was 100% for it then, and I'm 100% for it now. I'm going to play this video uninterrupted. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to try to anyway, the whole video. And I'll give you my opinion on it, and I would love you all's opinion on it. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? And you're going to have to tell me why. And it's got to be beyond, if it's going to be a bad idea, it needs to be beyond Jackson's dangerous. Because we're never going to get Jackson beyond dangerous if we don't start doing things and looking at projects that can change the trajectory of an area. And if the state's involved in this, there'll be more police involved. I think you're just going to have to accept that there's dangers in life, but there's also adults back in the building who are going to do all they can to keep downtown safe. And of course, this is going to be in the Capital City Improvement District. So it'll be inside the CCID, which means it'll be inside the main jurisdiction of the Capitol Police. So let me put all that out there first. All right, let's go to the beginning of this. This is from WLBT, talking about a proposal for Jackson Casino.
The Mississippi House Committee looking at ways to revitalize the capital city is going beyond blight discussions. They're hearing details of a plan that could have you sitting at a slot machine within a mile of the state capitol. Courtney Ann Jackson explains.
A group of 5 businessmen, including former Governor Haley Barbour, are making their pitch to lawmakers that they believe can help reverse the economic trends of the capital city.
And that is a casino.
It would be great for the city of Jackson.
But the idea brings forward plenty of questions, too. First, where?
So we are recommending a mile or so of the capital. That brings the jobs, that brings the people. It restores the core of our city.
But the group makes a few things clear. They don't think it needs to be limited to a specific site.
Why we don't come and say, here's the best site. We're not qualified. A casino company that's paying the bill, they're going to look at what their costs are.
And they are not recommending lawmakers put any state money into it.
We're not asking, and I would discourage this committee, the whole legislature. You don't need to give a casino any tax money. You don't need to invest in it. They got the money.
So why even come to the legislature with the proposal?
Do you have to come to us to have an exception?
That's it. The state law would need to be amended to allow for authorization of a casino in Jackson. Under this group's proposal, they think only one should be licensed, and it should be with a current operator in the state. The final piece of their request would require the developer to pay an annual $10 million impact fee,
which is a secret way of saying you're going to help fund additional growth.
We have this opportunity sitting in front of us to do something about all this and bring in economic development without asking the taxpayers for $1.
The discussions will continue when the session begins next month. Courtney Ann Jackson, 3 on your side.
All right, so let's unpack this some. The Mazda Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. I want you guys' opinions on this. Why will it work? Why won't it work? Let's take our first call. Calls need to be on topic.
Good morning, Clay. It's Buddy.
Hey, buddy.
You know, Jackson missed the opportunity to have casinos when they first started. And the little church ladies are the ones that did it. And I'm all for a casino, but I would recommend, why don't they put it on the reservoir area? You could put a Six Flags type situation up there, a horse racing track or dog racing. You could turn that into a world-class recreation area. You could bring in pro fishing tournaments. I'm thinking it's wonderful, but, you know, we're missing an opportunity there.
I don't disagree.
Sorry?
I don't disagree. Main Harbor should be a casino, but I think you've got a lot of. I think we've passed that point. There's a lot of multi-million dollar housing developments out there now, and I don't think they want anywhere near that.
Well, I understand that, and on a personal note, I know your dad's working like me. How's he holding up?
He's doing good. He's doing good. Looking for a little work, I think. You know, I think looking for a little work. You know, he likes to do like just the private events and stuff now. He don't like doing the high volume retail stuff.
Right. Well, if I come up with anything I can't do, I'll holler at him. I still have his number.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk.
I just want to sort of beat you down.
I need a Santa for my Christmas party. So he's kind of busy on Monday night, so I may holler at you.
What is that? Monday, a week from Monday?
Yeah, 12/23, Christmas Eve.
Okay, I'll look and see what I got, man, then holler at me.
Yeah, holler at me, buddy.
All right, take care.
Yeah, I'm efforting a Santa Claus for my Christmas party. Yeah, I know my dad's been one of the best Santas around for the last 30 plus years, but he's getting a little older, and I hate to bother him, but I might. Let's take another call on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you on there?
Hey, how you doing, Clay?
Hey, brother. Good. How about yourself?
Good. Just a couple of comments on the casino for Jackson.
Sure.
I know I know I'm just trying to see both sides of the coin, but yeah. I remember back in the early '90s, I was still overseas in the military, but my folks would send me like the Sunday paper from time to time. And I remember the big argument for the casinos back then is it would pull us out of our decades-long, not having any money for Mississippi, and it would pull us off the bottom. It would improve our education system. But guess what? It's been this many years we've had casinos.
Crap. He was going somewhere good with that. I'll say, please call back. I did not hang up on you. Phone just cut off there. I will say this. Education, tax dollars, be damned. Let's just take that off the table. Economic impact that it can do. Just look at the sheer economic development that could come from it if done right. I mean, that's a big if in Jackson. I know. But this isn't Chokwe and Jody Owens trying to get a casino deal done. This is Haley Barber and some of the most powerful, successful people in the history of the state trying to get a deal done. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Hey, brother, one of our dimes died there.
That's okay. No, just they said for years, and they said the same thing about the marijuana thing, that it would improve our everything in the state, but we're still on the bottom. It's like you can look at Tunica County. They've had casinos up there. Like they even have the resort thing, entertainment venues, and they're still like over 30% poverty. So, I mean,
I know, and I just playing devil's advocate a little bit here. I understand all the negatives. I do, and I'm just looking at it from a sheer. When our phone died, I just made this point. I said, look, take what the promises for better schooling and the promises for better roads, take that off the table and just sit here and say, man, look, Jackson, downtown Jackson is the last bastion of hope to save Jackson, so to say. What else is there? What other kind of industry can you come in and say, okay, because you got to basically say it's at rock bottom for the most part right now. Legitimately, it is. It's pretty much at rock bottom, with the exception of Fondren and the little medical corridor there. Let's just be honest about it. It's a ghost town after 5 o'clock every day. You bring in a massive. It's got to be the resort thing is the big key here. I'm not talking about no knock. I love the Ameristar. The Ameristar is not a resort. You got to bring in an own land resort casino, like what they did, like Harrah's in New Orleans, something like that. It's got to have a hotel tied into it. It's got to have all these other things tied into it to be successful. And then maybe that's the linchpin. And maybe I'm being a bit wishful thinking here. Maybe that's the linchpin that spurts to the growth of the development of Fair Street finally. Maybe that's the linchpin that makes the convention center a success, because people want to bring conventions here, because there's gambling, because there's museums, because there's a Fair Street. Then you have a true domino effect that I believe could happen, but it's got to be done right. It's got to have the right people involved. And as of right now, I see the right people involved, because I see who ain't involved.
But the less government people that are involved, the better off it'll be. So, and I do see the other side of the coin too, is where folks at Jackson, they need some type of better opportunity for jobs. And it's not just casino jobs, whatever. It's anything that goes along with it. You've got people who supply the food, and you've got all this other stuff that goes along with that.
It's a huge trickle-down effect.
Yeah, so I could start a business where they
suppliers,
clean the rooms, hotel rooms, stuff like that.
Yep, it's big business. I mean, you're talking about a 2 or 3 year construction project, tons of jobs for that. Yeah. So I'm just looking at the positive, because I don't know what else you can do at this point other than just tear down city block after city block and hope Amazon comes in and builds a warehouse.
Well, the only thing is too is to make it really work good, they need to hire local people.
Yeah,
you can't have some contractor from way out in Los Angeles or somewhere coming here, because they usually will bring for the most part, they'll bring their own folks, and we need to quit doing all that.
Agreed, 100%. Give them a tax break to use in-state people. I don't know. There's got to be a way. All right, brother. Appreciate it, man. Let's take one more call before we go to the break on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on there.
Hello?
Hey, yeah, you're on there.
This is Wayne. My name is Wayne. As usual, Mississippi is late to the party. This should have happened back in the 90s, whenever they came up with the first casinos.
I agree.
I didn't have a problem with the Gulf Coast having one first, and maybe even the Indian reservation area, but they should have had one there first. But for all the backwardsness as the states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama have, Louisiana did something right. They put one in the state capital. Now, it may be corrupt, but they put one in the state capital and other places as well. Mississippi is always behind. That's my comment. I think it can work, but it's going to be tough because they're 30 plus years behind.
Agreed. That's why it's going to take the right people doing it.
Yeah.
And keeping the wrong people away.
All the power didn't want to see the Jackson have it point blank. And that's why if you look at the legislation from back then, it has certain criteria which Jackson could not qualify for.
Yeah, I don't believe, and this is the argument I've made since this became a potential of being a reality, and I'm really going to peel the onion back on the other side of the break, but it's not Jackson's responsibility to keep Vicksburg afloat. And we're going to talk about that big side on the other side of this break.
Shouldn't have been that way to begin with.
Agreed, 100%. Thank you, brother. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm going to explain why I think Jackson needs to look out for Jackson and the rest of the state be damned when it comes to this particular topic. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show, live here on WYAB. This segment brought to you by Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge. Guys, get out there if you're considering, if you got an old car running or not. It's the end of the year. Get that tax write-off by donating that car here at the end of the year to Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge. That's right. You can donate a vehicle running or not. They will come get it out of your driveway, out of your yard, or wherever else it's at. And my understanding is you do not even have to have the title nowadays. Not quite sure what all is involved on the back end of that or whatnot. At some point, you got to have a title, lost title, something like that to be able to resell the vehicles. But hey, whatever. Reach out to them, mercyhouseautocenter.com. Business owners in particular, you guys, if you've got a fleet of vehicles that have ran their course, it's time to get that end of the year new vehicle fleet. Donate your old fleet to Mercy House. You're probably going to come out better anyway as far as the tax write-off versus what you're going to get for it trading it in at a new car dealership. Reach out to them, do the right thing, help put fathers back in homes, beat addiction, and save our communities by beating addiction and getting the fathers back in homes. And hey, of course, if they are a car lot also, if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, $10,000 to $20,000, Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge right down there in Crystal Springs. The profits go right back into the adult rehab facility, the adult and teen rehab facility. Can't think of a better investment in our communities. I don't know if you ever had to try to get somebody into an addiction center, rehabilitation center. It is not easy to do. It is not cheap. And sewing into Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge is a great, great investment into our community. We all know somebody in our extended or immediate families who have battled addiction. I'm looking at one guy in the mirror right now. So it happens. So check them out, mercyhouseautocenter.com. Let's go straight to the phones before I dive into what I was going to say on the Mazda Jackson phone line this morning. Hey, brother, you on there?
Hey, Clay, I just want to say something about people talk about education in the casinos. If you ever go look at some of the Gulf Coast schools, they look like Taj Mahals. They make anything in Madison County look like a crack shack. If you want to know the truth. Another thing, it's so good down there they don't even the kids don't even have to buy supplies, from what I understand. The school just gives them to them. Another thing, in downtown Jackson, you're going to have to build something like the size of Golden Moon or Silver Star to make it work. You build a little gambling hall. I mean, Clay, when in the world is there that much property besides on Highway 80 that doesn't flood?
Yeah, look, they're going to have to figure all that out. I mean, it's going to take tearing down a bunch of stuff. I floated the idea last night in the video that I made about it. Hear me out here. What if the city sells them the convention center? Then you fix a whole lot of problems in one fell swoop. You got a lot of land around it where they were going to build the convention center hotel. You have a bunch of other things around there. You could tie the King Edward in. I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box here. There's a lot of old buildings there that could come down.
Clay, Jackson did this themselves, man. Because every time something that should have been done, that 2-way should have been done. Okay, Fair Street should have been done. Bass Pro Shop should have been by Metro. There's a lot of stuff that they shot themselves. Even the Costco. I mean, they did it to themselves because of that set aside stuff, man. So you know what? Why should anybody want to help them now at this point? Have a good day, Clay.
Appreciate it. Let's take another call here. Yeah, I got this right. Hey, you're on there.
Yes, I'm on the air. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me ask you, is Air South one of your advertisers, one of your sponsors or advertisers?
Who?
Air South.
I think they're one on the radio station. They're not one on this show.
Okay, then, because they do a piss poor job. And I'm sure my husband is listening now. They've been to my house 4 times now and still can't get it right.
We're not going to use this platform to bash businesses. If you got a problem with an advertiser or anybody that you can call them. I do hate that, but that definitely not good. We hate that, but they're not on this show, so we're not going to bash locally owned businesses. Thank you for your call, though. All right, back to the casino and the potential of a casino, should I say, in Jackson. Now, of course, the delegations from the coast, Vicksburg, Tunica, and anywhere else there's a pre-existing casino here in Mississippi, they're not going to agree with it. They're not going to agree with this. They're like, no, but what about us? We're tired of y'all. We're tired of sacrificing our economic growth for you guys. The Tri-County area, I assume, I do not have any data to back this up. I'm sure I'm not positive it's out there. So I'm shooting from the hip here. So I guess if I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. As far as in-state casino visitors, the overwhelming majority, I assume, comes from the Tri-County area. It's the largest population area in the state, so it's safe to bet that the casinos are inhabited by people, mostly by people in-state from here in the Tri-County area. We should not have to drive 45 minutes at minimum to Vicksburg anytime we want to go to a casino, or an hour, or however long it takes to get up to the Golden Moon, the Silver Star, and all that. We should be able to get in our cars and drive 15, 20 minutes and get in and go and enjoy all the perks of a casino. You know, other things that people aren't looking at. Sports betting. Sports betting is huge. We should be able to, because they're clearly dragging their feet on getting mobile sports betting installed in this state for whatever reason. Well, more corporate protectionism. We know what it is. The casinos are actually against it. They want you coming into the casino. Let's just play it forward and assume that continues to be the problem. That's a huge part of this business, sports betting stuff now. A lot of people enjoy that. I don't bet, but I enjoy sports betting. I enjoy watching the lines. I enjoy picking against the spreads, but I don't actually gamble. But I enjoy watching it. It's a different viewing experience. I like betting on fantasy sports. It's a big aspect of this moving forward. Casinos aren't what they used to be exactly. They have evolved a lot. And yes, it is going to 100% take something like a resort style. I keep saying resort style. It's got to be a draw. It can't just be plopping down, converting the convention center into a casino. It's going to take something way more than a bunch of slot machines, crap tables, and card tables. It's going to take a draw, not just gambling. You're going to have to want people to come and do stuff. You're going to have a big venue. See, I was thinking you buy the convention center as part of it just to have as your big concert venue for the casinos. And then you build around it. I don't know, thinking outside the box a little. We got to take one last break here for this hour. Clearly, this is going to be a popular topic. Coming up at the top of hour 2, we got Russ Latino talking about the North Mississippi Mafia and the Joe Biden pardons right here in Mississippi. It's a topic a lot of you have asked me about. So we're going to deliver with the man himself who's written a bunch about it, Mr. Russ Latino with Magnolia Tribune here at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And we can always circle back to casinos in Jackson. Also, coming up later in the show, Chokwe and his JPD security just run all the red lights in Rankin and Madison, on the Rankin side of the reservoir and Ridgeland. And nothing was done to them. We're going to talk about that too. We'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to chat with y'all for a minute while we're in commercial break because we're not coming back from commercial break for a while. I ran over the casino stuff in Jackson. A lot of people are negative about it. Well, look, man, here's the deal. Most of y'all that are negative about it, you're not coming to it. So it's really a moot point. You've already made your mind up. You're never coming back to Jackson. That's fine. I was right there with you for a long time. But I still am looking for solutions to make Jackson a better place and to try to fix parts of Jackson. And I think this is the type of development that can steer Jackson in the direction of becoming something. Again, what ideas do y'all have? I would love to know it. And I'm not saying that to be like an asshole here. I'm just curious, like, what ideas do you have that can make Jackson better? Because it's going to take some kind of substantial it's got to be a massive type thing that's going to draw people in. And this is what that is. You know, people say, oh, you know, you just got to build it brick by brick. You know, you're going to just have to get little small businesses in one by one. We're past that point. We tried that already. That we're past the point of, you know, trying to be small business friendly. Of course, you should always be small business friendly, but you're going to have an anchor location, an anchor business. You know, it's like Walmart builds somewhere and then you get a bunch of little strip malls around it. The strip malls don't do anything without the Walmart. You need the casino to be the draw. Then all the other stuff works great around it. There's no draw to Jackson. I don't need to come to Jackson to get good food anymore. I don't need to come to Jackson to shop at that neat little locally owned clothing store. We got all that in Madison and Rankin County. You know what I can't do in Madison and Rankin County? Go to a casino. Not a resort to go stay at. No. There's got to be a draw. You know, you've got the convention center. You build a hotel casino. I mean, a nice one. Again, I can't emphasize enough a resort style. There's also a caveat in this thing where they got to reinvest $10 million a year into future development stuff. That's huge. They basically got to pay $10 million a year to be down there. And that money will go into future economic development around it, in theory. So I think it's a good deal. I think we're well beyond continuing to pander to the coast, North Mississippi, the Indian resorts, Vicksburg, especially Vicksburg. Screw Vicksburg. Yeah, we ran right through the break there. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I doubt it'll happen, honestly. But the fact they're talking about it and the fact you got some heavyweights like Haley Barber involved in it, the fact that you got people like Jody Owens and Chokwe not involved in it, you don't have a whole host of minority set-asides involved in it. I don't mind minority involvement. It's fine. Just not the typical same people that are involved in all these hustles. You got to look at this as this is the grown-ups coming back to the room and they see an opportunity. So anyway, all right, I got to call my guest, Russ Latino, get him lined up for here at the top of the hour. Y'all don't go anywhere. Probably going to end up circling back around to this multiple times this week because a lot of people got a lot of thoughts and ideas on this, and I like it. Yeah. I don't know what was up with that lady calling to complain about sponsors. Like, that ain't one of my sponsors, but I ain't gonna sit here and tolerate. I see this comment here. So this channel is only addressed the mayor's problems, not problems with the sponsors. Yeah. And that is they do sponsor the radio station. They don't sponsor the Clay Edwards Show. So I'm not going to get into customer service issues. I hate that for them. I hate anybody's having a bad experience, but we're going to stay on topic. We ain't changing topics this morning. All right, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Boom, shakalaka boom. You're tuned in to the Free Range Human Show of Choice. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show in America, online and on the RADIO. Speaking of the RADIO, we're on 103.9 FM. Speaking of online, we're streaming in 4K video at SaveJXN on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. This segment is brought to you by our good friends over at Lakeland Glass and Tint. Guys, give somebody the gift of window tint for Christmas. Let me get my caller on hold there. All right, we should have Russ Latino on hold on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Give somebody the gift of window tint for Christmas. Talk about a great stocking stuffer. Swing by, get a gift card, stuff it in the stocking stuffer there. Stuff it in the, I can't say it. Stuff it in the stocking. Tongue twister this morning. Anyway, hey, it's way more than just window tint. That stocking stuffer could be for ceramic coating. It could be for paint protection film. It could be for a full detail. It could be for so many things that they offer there at Lakeland Glass and Tint. You can start online today at lakelandglassandtint.com for a free quote. lakelandglassandtint.com and see what they can do for you. Why don't we go ahead and jump to our guest we have this morning here on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. We got Mr. Russ Latino, Magnolia Tribune. Russ, have I kept from hanging up on you?
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
All right, good stuff there, man. I don't know what I did. I don't normally start the phone calls, so getting it from the phone to the transmitter, different situation than normal. So if I hung up on you, my bad. All right, well, we've got Russ Latino here, magnoliatribune.com. Sit and talk to Russ about a million different things. So I'm going to punch above my weight just a little bit this morning and follow Russ's lead a little bit. But you guys have asked me a lot about, my listeners have asked me a lot about the Joe Biden pardons and the Langston people. They refer to them as the Mississippi Mafia, the North Mississippi Mafia. And I guess there's been some talks about people trying to pay to get pardons and all kind of stuff. Russ, can you bring people up to date a little bit on this Keaton Langston stuff and just anything else concerning pardons in Mississippi or Mississippians getting pardons from the Biden administration?
Yeah, so it's worth noting at the beginning that the Biden family has had a relationship with sort of a key cadre of Mississippi plaintiff lawyers for a number of decades, and included in that mix are Dickie Scruggs, Joey Langston, and some of those folks. And these guys for a long time were throwing fundraisers for Biden. They'd fly Biden in for Ole Miss football games, that sort of thing. And this dates back decades now in terms of the relationship. But as part of that, the same cadre of plaintiff lawyers developed a relationship with Jim Biden, who's Joe Biden's brother. And it comes into play in more recent time with a Medicare fraud that put Keaton Langston, who's Joey Langston's son, in prison, or has been convicted of a felony involving $51 million of misappropriated Medicare funds. But so the short context is that these guys had great relationships with Joe Biden up until the point that both Dickie Scruggs and Joey Langston were implicated in a judicial bribery scandal. People remember, I think it was 2007, 2008, Dickie Scruggs was first implicated in a bribery scandal in Oxford, Mississippi, involving an attorney's fees dispute, where he and people who were working with him were alleged to have offered a judge a payment in exchange for siding with them on that attorney's fees dispute. It's about $26.5 million attorney's fees that were up for grabs. At the same time, a story broke about another judicial bribery scandal involving some of the same players, including Dickie and Joey Langston, in Jackson, Mississippi. The ultimate result of all of that was that Langston and Scruggs did some prison time. They also lost their law licenses. So fast forward a little bit, Joe Biden sort of cut off connection based on available information with those guys, but Jim Biden kept that relationship. And in fact, right around the time that the judicial bribery scandal was being exposed, Jim was in talks with a couple of people up in Oxford about creating what was effectively like a government affairs and lobbying type operation where he would be a partner along with his wife and some of the players that were involved in that bribery scandal. And so all of that unfolded. Jim kept his relationship with those guys, and Keaton Langston, Joey's son, ended up involved in the healthcare industry. And the basic gist of the story is that Keaton was part of a group that, at least according to emails, included both Jim Biden and his dad, Joey Langston, that was selling lab services to hospitals. Now, the federal government's argument against Keaton Langston was that he was doing three different things: that he was selling lab services, that he was selling compound pharmaceuticals, and that he was selling orthotics. And at least according to the federal government, it was through a fraudulent scheme. So essentially what they were doing, Clay, and I'm going into a lot of detail here, but what they were doing was they had call centers that would call Medicare beneficiaries and convince them that they needed these things. And then they would set up telehealth providers to meet with those Medicare beneficiaries, and essentially for a cut of the service, that telehealth provider would then prescribe the service, and then ultimately Medicare would buy the service, right? And so the implication was that it was a $51 million fraud. Keaton Langston was alleged to have benefited about $10 million of that. The question through all of this, though, has been, was it just Keaton, or were there other people involved? What was the extent or nature of the involvement of his dad, Joey Langston, and the extent and nature of the involvement of Joe Biden's brother, Jim Biden?
It feels like an awfully big operation for one dude to be that comfortable doing this. Like, anytime you involve the government funds being misappropriated, I mean, that's basically what we're doing here is misappropriation, stealing government funds and the Medicare stuff, or Medicaid, whatever. You would have to think somebody was very comfortable doing this. First thing that comes to mind is not their first rodeo. And
yeah, I mean, I think if you look at Ben Schreckinger at Politico has done a good job reporting on this, by the way. And if you look at some of his reporting, what he showed was that there were emails being sent not by Keaton Langston, but by Joey Langston that referred to partners in the business that Keaton was running. And included on those emails was Joey and Jim Biden and Keaton. And so there are at least a couple of emails where Joey Langston was actually speaking on behalf of the business itself and referring to Jim Biden as a partner within the business. There also is an email that he sent to a hospital in Pennsylvania that essentially said once the acquisition of the hospital by another group had been accomplished, that they were able to send more lab tests for that hospital to be performed. And so in that sense, I think there's been a question of what was the extent of Joey Langston's knowledge and involvement. He's not been charged with any crime so far. Just his son has been charged and convicted of the crime. So there's that question. And then I think there's the other question of, well, what was Jim Biden's role if he's going to be identified as a partner in the business? Simultaneously, Jim Biden was identified as a partner in the hospital that they were selling the lab tests to. And so in some ways, his name appears on both ends of the transaction, on the end selling the product and on the end buying the product.
Do we think how much time did Keaton get? Do you know? Have they done a sentencing yet?
He was due to be sentenced in October. I'm not sure that occurred. I don't recall seeing anything showing that he had been sentenced yet.
Man, this is a bad look for the Bidens. Because he's going to have to pardon his brother with about as wide a scope as he did Hunter at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference, obviously, is that Hunter had actually been charged with and convicted of a crime. It gets a little dicier when you're sort of doing this preemptive pardon. I know that's been the course of some conversation lately. But But to the extent that there was a pardon of Jim Biden, I think it would have to be broad, just because he hasn't actually been charged with anything. I will tell you the more interesting recent update, and this also was been tracking your reporting from Politico, is that there is audio apparently of Keaton Langston talking about the nature of his plea or the nature of his conviction, and essentially saying that he told the story that his dad, Joey Langston, had instructed him to tell, with the expectation of a pardon. Now, Joey Langston has denied that, and Joey Langston's attorney denied it on behalf of both Joey and Keaton. But Ben is reporting having heard audio recording of Keaton saying, I told the story they wanted me to tell, essentially, to avoid implicating other people.
Yeah, I saw that. It was either in your story or Politico's last night about that. This blew my mind that they would say that out loud.
Yeah, and it wasn't in our story. So
Politico's,
that
okay.
whole tidbit came out in the last week in a story that Politico ran.
Yeah, for the listeners out there, I did share the links to both stories from Magnolia Tribune and from Politico in the comments of the feed here. So whether y'all are watching on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever, you should be able to see the links to both stories if y'all want to follow along. Go ahead, Russ. I'm sorry.
And Clay, I'll tell you that one of the wilder elements of this is that the FBI sting that caught Keaton simultaneously also ensnared a bunch of legitimate mafia members. So there's a guy named Thomas Parise that was part of this scheme, and it's not clear what his relationship, if any, was to Keaton, but he was implicated in the same sting, who was the consigliere of the Colombo crime family out of New York. So you've got all sorts of interesting, weird tidbits and combinations of people, from the president's brother to a Mississippi trial lawyer family to the New York Mafia, that candidly makes this story extremely interesting. But in light of that, it's crazy that almost no one in Mississippi has covered it. The national media has covered it, but for some reason, reporters in Mississippi and news outlets in Mississippi, by and large, WLBC I think has covered it a little bit, by and large have ignored the story entirely, which is just strange to me.
No, look, what sparked me to want to call you about it is I haven't just had the time to just deep dive into it, but I've been following it from 30,000 feet. I've seen your interest in it, and completely unrelated, but just talking about strange Mississippi stories is I finally watched the Kings of Tupelo documentary on Netflix over the weekend. And it was talking about just Mississippi, the birthplace of all these crazy stories. And I kind of had this thing bouncing around in the back of my head a little bit because I've been seeing you post about it and others. I said, this is a story that's being underreported. It's got so many crazy figures. This screams John Grisham novel, movie, something here in the future. This only ends with more drama. And I foresee this being a movie or a book or something, or a massive Netflix documentary here at some point.
And I can tell you, if you just looked at the Jim Biden side of it, there's some really, really interesting stuff. So I told you that he was both on emails, sort of putatively as a partner within Keaton Langston's business, and simultaneously was also listed in paperwork at the hospital they were selling the lab services to as a partner, so that he was on both sides of the equation. One of the interesting things is that the Hunter Biden laptop included letters that had been drafted by Jim trying to raise foreign money for this hospital. And he ultimately was unable to raise any of the foreign money. But when he was sending these letters, he would send them on behalf of the Biden family. So he would stop short of saying Joe Biden, but would say, this is on behalf of the Biden family. And you look at that, and what they ended up doing is actually raising money from an investment brokerage. That investment, the head of that investment brokerage has since been charged with a crime for misusing funds from his client in order to give it to this hospital. And when he was giving these funds to the hospital, they were cutting checks directly to Jim Biden. They cut a $400,000 check. They cut a $200,000 check as this money that was illegally given was coming into the system. The same day that Jim Biden got a $200,000 check from that investment in this hospital, he wrote a $200,000 check to Joe Biden as loan repayment. And so you've got a very fascinating sequence of events here that I think under normal circumstances would make big news. It's curious to me why it hasn't.
Very curious to me. I can't wait to see how this all unfolds. Russ, you got time to do another segment with me about a few other little kind of hit and miss topics that I just wanted to get your thoughts on?
Sure.
All right, hang tight. We got Russ Latino, MagnoliaTribune.com on hold. If y'all got any questions for Russ in the live feed concerning this or any other topic, would like to stay on topic, so preferably this, hit me up in the live stream. Let me know. Or the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. We'll get those questions to Russ. We'll be right back on WYAB. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Let's go straight back to the Mazda of Jackson phone line. We got Mr. Russ Latino, MagnoliaTribune.com on the line with us. Russ, I appreciate you jumping in and hitting some of that stuff with us. I hope you'll I guess we can anticipate some follow-up from your end on this story.
Yeah, we're absolutely following it, and hopefully, I've got a little show over on Missing Public Broadcasting every Wednesday, and we hope to have Ben Schreckinger on there soon from Politico to kind of dive into it as well. I think it's one that deserves attention. I mean, one, it's just an interesting set of facts, but two, that there is this sense that there's a group of people in Mississippi that have all of these political connections and political power, and in some ways have been able to abuse it without very much attention. And so I think, from my vantage point, we want to make sure that people understand when people are abusing power that way, and want to get down to the truth. And so, yeah, we'll absolutely continue to cover it.
Well, I mean, for the last 4 years, all we've heard is nobody's above the law. So I would like to see that stay true. Nobody should be above the law. I don't care what your political affiliations are, what your race is, or anything else. If you're out there involved in corruption and taking advantage of the tax-paying Americans, you need to face a jury, in my opinion. Face the consequences.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you got a situation here where, I mean, obviously the taxpayers are the ones that are effectively being ripped off to make other people wealthy. And candidly, with a Medicare population of elderly people that are being exploited as part of that game. So that it's a good thing that the FBI did the investigation that they did and caught the people that they did, including Keaton Langston, including these gentlemen that were involved in the mafia. I think the question is what is still out there, right? I mean, are there other people that are implicated? And I don't know the answer to that for certain. I know that there's smoke, right? And it certainly seems suspicious to me that Jim Biden would be on both sides of a deal involved with the same people who ultimately did get caught. Those are things that are worth consideration, particularly when you talk about how the office of the presidency could be tied in or how that power can be abused. And look, it's not clear that Joe Biden knew anything that Jim Biden was doing. People can draw their own conclusions there. But if Jim Biden or Hunter Biden were using the name of the president and the office of the presidency for personal gain, I think that's something that people need to know and understand.
What do you think about these broad preventive pardons, kind of like prevent defense pardons when nobody's been charged? Do you think those things will hold up? I don't even know who the review committee, Supreme Court, or whoever could. I don't even know how you would challenge it. But at some point, these have to be challengeable. Am I saying that's challengeable a word? These have to be challengeable, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the question is one about the constitutional pardon power of the presidency. There's not just a whole ton of Supreme Court precedent on the extent of that pardon power. And so it would, in some ways, be an issue of what's called first impression for the Supreme Court, right? Does the pardon power include the power to preemptively pardon? I've seen scholars argue both ways, and some of those people are people that I respect on both sides of the argument, Clay.
Mm-hmm.
I think regardless of whether or not the power exists, the use of it creates some real unease, at least on my part. Even in the case of Hunter, where he had actually been convicted of crimes, it seemed very specific to say that we're going to date back 11 years for any crimes committed within the last 11 years. I mean, to me, that raises the specter of the possibility that there's knowledge of other existing crimes that they're trying to cover, even though he hasn't been caught or prosecuted for those things. I think that should make people a little uneasy, right? As an example, Hunter Biden was convicted of tax evasion. Americans go to prison for tax evasion, right? Like, people who don't have relationships with the president go to prison for that. And so you've got this circumstance where, because he's the president's son, he's not going to face that consequence. I think that should bother people who view the presidency as a service role and not as the role of a king.
No, I agree. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I'm with you. I see both sides of it, but my spidey senses, and I've tried to remove that it's Hunter Biden and not Don Trump Jr., for example, and say, okay, would I feel it? Would I not like it if it was the other way around? And well, I guess my internal reflexive reaction would be only one side has weaponized the DOJ to come after their political opponents. So until the Republicans do that, until this administration does that, I think I have a problem with it right now, with the Bidens getting to break the law and get away with it.
Well, and I mean, at a minimum, what he's done is to surrender the quote unquote high ground, right? And Jon Stewart talked about this at the time that it happened. And I don't know if you like Jon Stewart or not. I find him funny, and I think he kind of dings both sides pretty evenly. But I'll just say that at a minimum, they've opened the door to Trump doing the exact same thing, right? That the precedent has now been set. But if Trump comes in and decides to pardon himself or pardon family members or whatever that looks like, I think it's a lot harder for Democrats to be critical of that at this point, given the way that Biden has used the power. And it's not clear if he's done yet, right? I mean, he had a huge tranche of clemencies or commutations that occurred late last week, and 39 pardons on top of that. There's nothing that prevents him from doing additional pardons between now and the close of his term. And so, could Jim Biden's name be on that list? I don't know. But at a minimum, they've opened the door to Trump using the pardon power in a more exhaustive way than has historically been done. And to the extent they were looking at it thinking that they had the high ground, I think they surrendered that high ground.
I agree. Change the subject here real quick. This is one that I'm sure it hits close to home for me, because I know several Mississippi journalists who should be lined up deleting everything that they possibly can off Twitter at this current moment. And I think Ashton Pittman has. He's locked his Twitter account down. George Stephanopoulos and ABC are now going to have to pay Trump $15 million in a defamation suit for calling him a rapist. And what I love about the Trump troll on this is not going to Trump's bank account. They're going to have to fund the Trump library, the Trump presidential library. But I like that we have a verdict, a defamation verdict, and then blatantly calling him a rapist when he was not convicted of raping anybody. I have seen multiple Mississippi journalists. Well, I'll just say I've seen Ashton Pittman with the Mississippi Free Press call him a rapist multiple times. And I went to go try to find that tweet the other day, and I've noticed that he has locked his Twitter account down and protected all of his tweets so he can get in there and clean them up a little bit. Do you think this is a good thing for the media, to some accountability?
Yeah, and I don't know that Ashton has locked his Twitter account to clean tweets. I mean, I feel like I'd be speculating on that. I think there are a lot of people who are left of center who have decided that Twitter is no longer a platform where they want to openly participate. And it may be that you lock it down so you have some historical record of what you've said, but you don't plan on actually being active there. I will say in a broader sense that there is this tension, right? I mean, obviously, if you look at the founding of our country, the free press was very important. I mean, it's part of the First Amendment of our Constitution. And so you want to make sure that what happens in terms of regulating or conditioning the press, that it effectively doesn't end the freedom of the press, right? Or it doesn't create an environment where people are afraid to seek the truth because they know that the end result is that they're going to end up in a lawsuit. But by the same token, being a member of the press doesn't entitle you to lie about other people. And it requires a certain level of restraint that maybe you don't always see. And, if Howard Stern's talking about something, he's not going to have the same level of restraint as someone who's operating as a serious journalist or whatever, right? And so I think there is a place for defamation lawsuits, right? And it happens both in sort of right-leaning media and left-leaning media. I mean, Fox News obviously famously got hit by a huge verdict for things that they were saying about Dominion. I think, you look at what Trump did, calling him a rapist is in fact not something that's substantiated by evidence. It's not something that's substantiated by conviction. And so because of that, I think you should be held responsible when you lie about what someone has done. And so I would just say that it's a fine line, but I don't think you can err so much on the side of free press that the press can say whatever it wants, irrespective of whether or not it's true or substantiated.
All right. One last question, kind of in the same vein here. What are your thoughts on the Mississippi Today having to reveal their sources? Am I the Supreme Court saying they can't hide their sources? They got to reveal them. Am I wording that right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the essence of the legal side of it, right? Which is essentially that in the district court case that was filed by Phil Bryant against Mississippi Today, he had sought information and discovery related to where their sources got their information, right, or who their sources were, and also it sought information on like contemporaneous notes, and by that it's stuff like, hey, if you're going to write an article that says that Clay Edwards stole $1 million, what were you saying in the draft? What emails went around staff about the reason that you were writing this article? Because one of the things that someone who alleges defamation, and particularly someone who's a public figure who alleges defamation, they have to prove something called actual malice. So it's more than just what they said was false. It's that they said it and they were trying to hurt me, or they were so reckless in their disregard for what was true that the end result was that they hurt me. And so if you're Bryant, what you were looking for in those sorts of contemporaneous notes is there evidence that the point of them running these stories was to hurt me, and that they were doing it with reckless disregard for what is true. And that's why you would want that information. So he had sought that information, the sources, and then sort of these contemporaneous notes, in internal communications, basically. And the court had said, yes, you're allowed to have it. Mississippi Today then appealed that to the Mississippi Supreme Court in what's called an interlocutory appeal. Basically just means in the middle of the case, right? So you don't wait to the end of the case to decide it. And the Supreme Court denied their request for interlocutory appeal, which pushes it back down to the district court, and it means that they have to produce the stuff that Brian has asked them to produce. My appreciation is that there's a protective order in place, which means that whatever they produce won't become public, but it will be seen by Phil Bryant's attorneys and whatnot. So that's the end result of sort of the legal wrangling that's occurred over these last few months.
Very interesting stuff. Russ Latino, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. And I'm going to really take a deep dive into this Keaton stuff. I find it wildly interesting, this Keaton Langston stuff. And I think that we're just on the tip of the iceberg and how big of a story this could end up being here in Mississippi. I think it may have to add another chapter to the Mississippi politics book when they do a reissue. Tell everybody how to find your new show on Mississippi Public Broadcast.
Yeah, so we're on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., so you can listen live if you want to. And we've had a good string of guests. had Governor Reeves and Lieutenant Governor Hoseman, Shad White. This last week we did a bit on the Kings of Tupelo with Steve Holland. So it's been a fun mix. The whole goal of the show, Clay, is really just to be conversational. So we have conversations about policy, but it's more just stuff about life and kind of trying to understand who are the leaders that are making decisions on our behalf. And really to do some deep dive into some of the issues that they're considering too. You could also get it on podcast form, right? So if you have Spotify or Apple or wherever, you can download it. It's just the Sit Down with Russ Latino.
And it is on YouTube. It's on YouTube as well. That's where I consume it at.
Yeah. It's live streamed on YouTube, which, I've always joked that I've got a face for radio, but they put me on YouTube anyway. So it's going well so far. Certainly appreciate you mentioning it.
Yeah, it was funny. So I actually had to watch Kings of Tupelo twice over the weekend because I kept dozing off Friday night, Saturday night when I was watching it. So yesterday morning when I got up, I said, I am watching this from start to finish. I'm not doing anything until I do. So I did that. I'm texting Shanks. I said, get me Mr. Holland, please. And then, of course, he sends me his number, and I was going to wait to contact him today because I'm not going to bother anybody on a Sunday. I'm strolling on Twitter looking at your page to try to find the link to that article. And what do I see? Mr. Holland is your guest already. Like, dang it, Russ Latino beat me to it.
Well,
good stuff there.
I'm sure he'll talk to you too. He's an entertaining guy. When he was in the legislature, I used to call him the King of Zing because he was very good at somewhat mean one-liners. I also frequently have said that he is lucky to have not been alive in the era of duels because he would be faster dead because the guy's tongue is just so sharp. But he is one heck of a funny guy, and so him talking about everything that went down in Tupelo is interesting because he was involved with both of the guys that are kind of the Kings of Tupelo, right? Yeah. Both Dusky and Curtis. Curtis had accused Holland, who runs a funeral home, of being involved in stealing body parts, and then Dusky ran against Holland.
Yeah.
In the legislature, I think in 2007. So he had both of these guys hating him for different reasons. And I think, watching that show on Netflix, you see that he's sort of the oil of the conversation in a lot of ways.
He is the King of Tupelo. He's the King of Tupelo.
He's an entertaining guy. I think they've tried to bill it as sort of the Tiger King of Mississippi.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite that, but I would say that anytime you have, a funeral home director, a karate instructor, and an Elvis impersonator involved in a criminal scandal, that's something to at least put on the watch list.
Absolutely. Russ Latino, MagnoliaTribune.com. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back to unpack some of that and more. I got a huge story on Chokwe and Lumumba. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show, live here on all the aforementioned platforms, X, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook at Save JXN if you want to watch in video. And, of course, on the mothership, bumping all across the airwaves here in central Mississippi, 103.9 FM WYAB. Real quick before we get into the juicy news to close the show, Boykin Contractors in Florence, Mississippi. They can do construction, roofing, remodeling, additions, repairs, and they do it all over the metro area. They're licensed, bonded, and insured with the Mississippi Board of Contractors. But, man, tons of satisfied customers. Check out their Facebook, Google pages, etc. Just Google or search Boykin Contractors, Florence, Mississippi. It'll all pop up. You will not be disappointed. But Bryce is a good dude, man. Mr. Boykin, I always talk about putting your name on your business. Bryce does that at Boykin Contractors. Christ-centered company. He operates with honesty and integrity. Please keep him in mind for any of your home repairs, remodels, roofing, and construction needs. That's Boykin Contractors. Real quick, kind of in closing today, we ran over bigly with Russ there. I don't have a lot of time left for it, but Kingfish did some great investigative journalism. Thursday, Kingfish left the roast of Kim Wade all the way out there at Grants Ferry Road on the Spillway or Lake Harbor, whatever it's called. He takes a left to come back from Rankin County across the Spillway into Madison County. Who blows by him and runs red lights and all that? A fleet of JPD cruisers, black SUVs, JPD SUV, none other escorting the security detail, not of the president. No, sir, not Donald J. Trump was not in town. It was Chokwe Antar Lumumba, most likely. Don't know who else it would have been. They fly across the reservoir. They're running red lights. They're not even in a pursuit, mind you. They just got to get His Highness, the King, to free the land, King, K-A-N-G, King. They got to get him to somewhere in Madison for some reason. They get across the reservoir. They take that right there on the road that connects Lake Harbor to Rice Road, where the dock used to be, where Main Harbor is. And they run the red light, taking a left on the Rice Road. And I just got a question, man. I'm not trying to call out Ridgeland Police Department or Gene McGee, the mayor's office. But guys, I just want to get an understanding why the mayor of Jackson and his police detail get to run all the red lights in Ridgeland. Now, they were not in a municipality, but I guess a reservoir patrol. They running all the red lights there on the spillway. I love you guys. We cool. I'm reporting a crime here. Rankin County Sheriff's Department that patrols over there on that Rankin side of the water. I'm reporting a crime here. They put people's lives in danger running red lights to get His Highness, I guess, out to his Madison house, allegedly, of course, because they hauled butt to the Natchez Trace. Well, if they're going to Chokwe's house on Ridgewood Road, why wouldn't you just go down and take a left on Old Kenton? Why does the mayor of Jackson and his entourage not have to abide by the laws of the road? Why are they running with their blue lights on? They were not in an emergency. Again, I think the public deserves answers. If nobody's above the law, why does Chokwe and company get to break it everywhere they go? This is the type of entitlement that has this man believing that he can do and get away with anything he wants. Thinks he's above the law. He's Chokwe Antar Lumumba, the king of Central Mississippi. This ain't Jackson. He ain't my king. This has been the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to take our last break. Come back, land the plane for the day. I am nowhere near letting this go. Y'all need to go to jacksonjambalaya.com and watch Kingfish's full video. He followed them all the way across the reservoir. Man, talk about wrong time, wrong place for them to be with Kingfish with a camera. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're going to wind it down. I think I ran over enough there that we probably ain't even coming back from a commercial break on the radio. So good stuff. Fun show today. We had a lot of stuff. I'm going to be back live again today, probably around noon. I got a whole lot more I want to talk about, and I don't have anything else to do. It's the end of the year. I need to work out. But other than that, I don't have anything else I need to do. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time live with y'all. Don't forget, this Friday, it's not the Christmas party, it's the Christmas lunch at El Potrillo Mexican restaurant right there in Cross Gates, Brandon, 11:30 to 1. Just be there by noon is all I'm saying. You got to tell people early so they get there on time. So I'm saying 11:30 to 1, Christmas lunch. You got to pay for your own. I ain't buying nobody's lunch, but I do want to hang out with everybody who can't come to the Christmas party. So try to make it. El Potrillo, FAFO Friday lunch, last one of the year, 11:30 to 1, El Potrillo Mexican restaurant, right there in front of Cross Gates on Highway 80 in Brandon. Also, Christmas party, Monday, December 23rd, Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, live entertainment by the Stevens Brothers. Production, bringing a cool light show. It's going to be so much fun. Production by the Barlow family. And the name of their business slipped my mind, or I would say that, but it's Brian Barlow and his dad. And, of course, no cover charge. It's family friendly. We're doing a winter clothes drive for our friends at Shower Power. Bring a jacket, bring some jeans, bring some gloves, socks, underwear, all that good stuff. And you're going to get a free beer courtesy of Southern Beverage. Come out. Starts at 6. Going to be a good time. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Stay blessed. Hit that share button for your boy. Please hit the share button wherever you're watching this. Thank y'all. Peace out.